Imagine a world on fire. In the year 1237, a storm of hooves and arrows swept across the plains of Eastern Europe. This was the Mongol Horde, and they were about to burn the Kievan Rus to ashes. What followed wasn't just conquest. It was 2.5 centuries of subjugation, a period forever etched into the Russian psyche as the Mongol yoke. Princes had to crawl to their new masters, kissing the boots of the Khan just for the right to rule their own decimated lands. How did this happen? And how did a shattered people finally rise to break the chains? Join us at AllNationsHistoryHub as we uncover the dark legacy of Mongol rule. The year is 1237. Bati Khan, grandson of the legendary Genghis Khan, leads an army that seems to pour from the very edge of the world. They are the Golden Horde, and their destination is the fractured principalities of the Rus. The initial invasion is a whirlwind of shocking brutality. The city of Ryazan is the first to fall. Its defenders fight bravely, but they are overwhelmed. The Mongols show no mercy, slaughtering the entire population. The city is razed, leaving nothing but smoldering ruins. This becomes the terrifying pattern. City after city Kolomna, Vladimir, Sussex is engulfed in flames. The fall of Taiwan in 1240 is the symbolic end of an era. Once the magnificent heart of the Rus, a center of culture, faith, and trade, it is reduced to a ghost town. A papal envoy passing 3 years later reported seeing fewer than 200 houses left standing amidst a field of skulls and bones. The Mongol strategy was one of sheer terror. Pyramids of skulls were erected outside conquered cities as a gruesome warning to any who might dare to resist. The message was brutally clear: submit or be annihilated. The once proud Rus princes were scattered, their armies broken. A long, dark night was falling over the land. With the Rus principalities shattered, Bati Khan established his new capital, Sarai, on the Lower Volga River. From this gilded city, the Golden Horde would rule its western territories for centuries. The nature of Mongol rule wasn't direct occupation in the modern sense. The Khans were content to let the Rus princes govern their own people as long as two crucial conditions were met: absolute loyalty and, most importantly, tribute. This tribute, known as the Vigod, was the lifeblood of the Horde's power and the heavy chain around Russia's neck. Twice a year, long caravans laden with wealth would snake their way from the forests of the north to the steppe capital of Sarai. This wasn't just gold and silver. It included furs, honey, wax, and most devastatingly people. The Mongols demanded a tax in men, taking skilled craftsmen to serve the Horde and young men to serve in its armies, a practice that drained the Rus lands of their most vital resource. Mongol tax collectors, known as Buskaki, were stationed in Russian towns to ensure the tribute was paid in full and on time. These officials were backed by military force, and any delay or shortfall in payment was met with a punitive raid at Tartarsky and Nabek that brought back the familiar horrors of fire and slaughter. To be a prince in this era was to walk a razor's edge. To gain the Khan's favor, or Yalik, which was the official charter to rule, a prince had to undertake a long and humiliating journey to Sarai. There, they would perform elaborate rituals of submission, prostrating themselves before the Khan. They were forced to bow to Mongol idols and engage in ceremonies that violated their Christian faith. Refusal meant certain death. These journeys were perilous. Many princes went to Sarai and never returned, executed on a whim or falling victim to the brutal court politics of the Horde. This system fostered intense rivalry among the Rus princes themselves, who would often betray and undermine each other to curry favor with the Khan, further weakening any chance of unified resistance. The Prince of Moscow, in a shrewd political move, eventually convinced the Khan to make him the sole collector of tribute, a decision that would centralize power in Moscow and ironically sow the seeds of the Horde's eventual downfall. For over 200 years, the yoke held fast. But as the 15th century dawned, the Golden Horde itself began to fracture. Internal strife and rival claimants weakened the once invincible empire, breaking it into smaller, competing khanates. In Moscow, a new line of princes was growing bolder. They had spent generations consolidating their power, absorbing smaller principalities, and building their strength under the very noses of their Mongol overlords. The turning point came with Ivan III, later known as Ivan the Great. He was a cautious, cunning, and ambitious ruler who understood that the balance of power was finally shifting. In 1476, Ivan III took a monumental step. He stopped paying tribute to the Horde. Akhmat Khan, ruler of the Great Horde, was enraged. In 1480, he gathered a massive army and marched on Moscow to punish the defiant prince. Ivan gathered his own forces, and the two armies met at the Ugi River, about 150 miles south of Moscow. What followed was not a bloody battle, but a tense, month-long standoff. Neither side was willing to commit to a full-scale assault across the river. Legends say a miraculous vision or a sudden freeze convinced the Mongols to retreat, an event romanticized in Russian chronicles as the Great Stand on the Ugi River. In reality, Ahmad Khan's position was precarious. His allies had failed to show up, and his supply lines were stretched thin. Facing the onset of winter and a determined Russian army, he chose to withdraw. He would be assassinated shortly after, and the Great Horde would soon disintegrate. The standoff at the Ugi wasn't a glorious military victory, but it was a profound symbolic one. The spell of Mongol invincibility was broken. The yoke was lifted. The 250 years of Mongol rule left deep and lasting scars on Russia, shaping its political, social, and even psychological development for centuries to come. The most significant legacy was the rise of Moscow and the birth of a centralized, autocratic state. The Muscovite princes learned the art of absolute rule from the Khans. The Mongol system of extracting tribute and demanding provided a blueprint for the Tsars who would later demand the same from their own people. The concept of a strong, unquestioned central authority became deeply ingrained in Russian political culture. Furthermore, the Mongol yoke isolated Russia from the West. While Western Europe was experiencing the Renaissance, with its flourishing of art, science, and new political ideas, Russia was turned inward, focused on survival and its relationship with the Horde to the east. This isolation contributed to a sense of otherness and a unique civilizational path that has defined Russia's relationship with the West ever since. Socially, the constant threat of raids and the heavy burden of tribute devastated the population and hindered economic development. The old Kievan system of city councils and a degree of local autonomy was crushed, replaced by a rigid hierarchy with the prince at the top. Some historians even argued that the harshness of Mongol rule contributed to the institution of serfdom, as peasants were bound to the land to ensure the state could effectively tax them. From the Kremlin's architecture, which shows Tatar influences, to certain words in the Russian language, the echoes of the Horde are still present. This long period of fear and subjugation forged a national identity centered on endurance, resilience, and the absolute necessity of a powerful state to protect the motherland from foreign invaders. The shadow of the Golden Horde is long, and in many ways, Russia is still living within it. The story of the Mongol yoke is a powerful saga of devastation, survival, and ultimate liberation. It's a critical chapter that shaped the destiny of a nation. If you enjoy these deep dives into the epic sagas of the hordes and empires that shaped our world, be sure to hit that like button. And for more incredible stories from history, don't forget to subscribe to AllNationsHistoryHub. Thanks for watching.